Welcome to day 10 of 50 Days of Fitness. I have earned my first coffee, so I got started on that. But I got to tell you, man, I don't know, it's day 10, and I don't know about you, but I was having some motivation problems this morning when I first got up. And even though, I mean, that's the whole thing, is these don't take very long, and it's kind of easy to fit into your day. In spite of that, I found, in my mind, I'm trying to come up with all of these reasons. Oh, you can't do that. You are so busy. You have so much going on. You can't do this today. It wouldn't hurt if you just skip. I mean, all of these thoughts going through my mind, and I don't know why, but they were. And I'm like, you just got to do it. You're acting like it takes you an hour or something to do it. It doesn't. It takes you a few minutes where you're waiting for the coffee machine anyway. So I talked myself off that ledge, and I did my first set, and I got my coffee. So, but I will say, maybe part of that is yesterday was a crazy busy day, crazy nonstop Zoom calls and working on some contracts and things. And I finished working last night around 10 or 10:30, and today's not going to be as bad as yesterday, but today is also a busy day. So maybe that fed into that a little bit. And plus, I am behind. I don't have my stuff ready for my taxes. And so I have that stress in the background. But I did it. I got those things done. So I thought I'd talk a little bit today about sugar. And well, sugar and maybe sweeteners in general. That's one of the things. I think that sugar, and I am a sweet lover. I mean, it is really a weakness of mine. It's easier for me to not eat it at all than to try to limit an amount, because it's like I think I'll buy, sometimes I don't do it very often because of this problem. I'll buy like some Dove chocolates, like a bag of chocolates. I don't know how many are in a bag, maybe a dozen or so. And I'll think, oh, I'll get that, and maybe I'll eat one a night or one every other day or something like that. And when I eat the first one, I don't stop eating until that bag is empty. I just can't seem to help myself. And now I will say I don't really add sugar. It's rare when I'm cooking that I ever add sugar. When I do baking, and I haven't been since we started this thing here because I'm on a sugar fast, but I actually do a fair amount of baking, and I bake muffins and cornbread and bread, and I'll occasionally make cakes and things. But when I do that, I usually don't use any sugar. I Most of those recipes will either have bananas or applesauce in them, and I use unsweetened applesauce and just regular bananas. And so the sugar for the baked good comes from that. I have made things before. My grandson is diabetic, and so I have made stuff before with stevia. And so there's some sugar substitutes. And for a very long time, I remember when I was in my 20s, I made a friend. We were on a vacation, and we were on a cruise. And so there was, other people on the cruise. There was another couple there about our age, and this gentleman was a dentist. And he's like, oh, the important thing with kids is you teach them to drink the diet, and then they never really get used to having like real sodas. And he's like, that's just so much better for you. And I always kind of felt like diet soda was okay. It's okay for you. But most of these artificial sweeteners are not okay. They're not good for you. They just aren't. They have all kinds of side effects, and it took me a long time to really come to grips with that. And so I quit drinking sodas. I don't know when it was, a couple of years ago. I will occasionally, like if I'm traveling, and especially places where I'm not, real sure about the water or those kinds of things, or if I'm at a cocktail party or something, usually I'll get water. But if I can't get water, or if I'm in a spot where the water is, maybe I need to be careful, I will drink a diet soda then. But most of the time, I just don't drink them. I generally drink just water or coffee. That's about all I drink. Well, I don't know if depends upon whether you would consider a latte coffee. I do love to get lattes. I get them unsweetened, with no flavoring or anything else, just a plain latte. But I've come to grips with the fact that a lot of those now, if you are doing keto diets or if you're doing some of these diets, there are a lot of these things that put out recipes for keto, and they use some of these sugar substitutes. Another sweetener is honey. And honey actually has quite a few calories. I mean, it's very dense in calories. So you don't really save a lot on calories. I will say, however, that honey does seem to have some additional health benefits. And, that it might be something that you would, have in moderation. But it does seem to have some health benefits. Even though it has a whole lot of calories, it doesn't raise your blood sugar as much. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't do it. It does. It will raise your blood sugar, but not as much as like cane sugar or some of these others. Maple syrup is, again, another one that seems to have some health benefits, better than sugar. But again, I try to stay away from pretty much all of those things. And I'm not going to be able to get the name exactly right. I can't remember what it is. I'm trying to say erythromycin, and that's an antibiotic. But I don't know. You can probably figure it out. But there's a sweetener that is very popular with like the keto diets and some of those things where people are making baked goods and they're substituting in, instead of like wheat flours and all that stuff, they're using almond flours so that they're not, using grains, and they're using these artificial sweeteners. But that sweetener has an elevated risk of blood clots. And I'm not saying that it will cause them necessarily, but it does raise your risk. So there's a guy who I really like, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about him in a future episode, named Dr. Daniel Amen, Amen, and he is a brain doctor. And he has written a number of books. He has a lot of programs about brain health and about things and how it affects the brain. And he's kind of a pioneer in the way in treating a lot of things. He especially has some great advice for ADHD and some of these other things. So he's really great, and he's somebody who I trust. And again, I always want to say, I am not a dietitian. I am not a medical professional. I am not a, certified professional trainer or anything along these lines. This is just me. And if you are a dietitian, or if you are a doctor or medical professional or anything else, and have some more to add to this, I would love for you. And if I'm saying anything wrong, also, please feel free to, correct me in the comments. But this is just my experience and the research that I've done. But Dr. Amen, he is very adamant. He's like, the only sweetener that is safe is stevia. And he said, and he was including anything in that. He's talking about sugar. He's talking about beets. He's talking about honey. He's talking about, maple syrup, all of those things. He's like, the only one in his experience that seems to be safe is stevia. And I've used stevia before. One of the nice things is you can get stevia in a thing where it is, you can use it for baking and it measures the same as sugar and everything else, and it tastes really about the same. And but I still tend not to use it at all. But you do have to be careful because stevia has become a brand name. So you have to look at the contents. Even though you're buying a bag that says stevia, the sweetener in there may not be stevia. It may be a different sweetener under the brand name stevia. So you got to read your labels. But I've run longer than I expected to, but sugar is really kind of a big deal. It's something that I think a lot of people who are having real problems with their diets, and they may even be counting calories, they may even be doing macros. We'll do another one of the other videos. We'll talk about macros and what that means and how that works. But they may be doing all that stuff, and they just can't understand why they're not losing weight, but they're not counting liquids. They're counting their food. They're probably doing a really good job counting their food, but they're not thinking about their liquids, and they don't really realize how many calories or how many things they're consuming. That's so easy. It's so fast. And it's one of those things that it can really throw you off and you don't even know it. So anyway, let's wrap that up for now. I've run longer than I had hoped. It is day 10, and even though I tried to talk myself out of it, I did do my first set. And I've done 4 every time. I've done 4, except for one day I did 5. So I've been doing pretty well. Even on days where I was just like crazed, I was able to fit it in. So I hope you are too. If you have comments, if you're, let me know how it's going. If you're doing the sugar fast, let me know how you feel. Let me know if you're having any cravings. Let me know if you're having motivation problems. We'll love each other through this. We'll get through it one way or another. And that's it, my friends. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 11 of 50 Days of Fitness. Take care, everybody. Bye.